Hello, this is Dr. Bob and Debbie DeMaria. Welcome once again to our Half Hour Health program. And tonight, Debbie, we're going to talk about probably one of the most significant topics that has impacted your and my life, and mostly because I'm married to you, because you're a female, and that happens to be female hormones. And you know, I'm not a gynecologist, and I'm not an obstetrician. I'm a dad, I'm a husband, and I'm a natural doctor, and I have 2 ears. And so I do my very best to listen twice as much as I speak.
Well, I was going to ask you, Dr. Bob, am I the guinea pig for this book?
You are. And most of what's in this book, I just learned, Debbie, through patience. And you know, where do you begin? Well, you know, you begin today. So we're not talking about Debbie. I'm talking about you begin today. Believe it or not, ladies, before you make the decision to have a baby. What does that mean, Dr. Bob? Before I decide to have a baby, your health, yes, that's right, your health impacts your child. Do you drink, smoke, eat franchise food, and are you toxic? Because if you are, what's going to happen is you're going to compromise that child's health. And I don't usually say that. I'm not trying to give you guilt and condemnation. But we are so exposed to so many toxins today that when I first started in practice in the 1970s, I never would have thought that I'd be speaking to people today about being toxic. So I just wanted to bring that up. Now, the next thing that's so important to you ladies is this. I'm talking about female hormonal health. Now, yes, men, you can listen to this because the book that I have that we'll be discussing is Dr. Bob's Drugless Guide to Balance Female Hormones, but it really is Dr. Bob's Drugless Guide to Balance Human Hormones. But we're concerned today about women. Now, this is an oil filter, ladies and gentlemen. I know that you know that. This is what your liver is inside of your body. It's located right about here. That's where your liver is at. Well, your liver makes bile. Now, your liver has lots of functions. It's a storehouse for blood. It's a storehouse for vitamins A, D, and K. It also helps convert proteins to sugar. I mean, I could go on. It has little Pac-Man in here, and it gets rid of viruses and bacteria. That's why when you hear someone that has liver disease, when somebody gets mononucleosis, it's because that liver is doing what it can to fight off viruses. You want to take care of your liver. Your liver is one of the most important organs in your body. But ladies, what I want to share with you today is something that I see that's epidemic, and that is estrogen overload, estrogen saturation, estrogen toxicity. See, estrogen is in the water we drink and the food that we eat. Estrogen compromises function. So let's just say that you're watching me right now and you have tender breast and a heavy menstrual flow. If that happens, I know you have too much estrogen inside of your body. And you may be thinking, well, Dr. Bob, where do I get all the estrogen from? Well, on other programs and in our books, I've talked about you can get estrogen from canned food. Debbie and I choose, we rarely ever eat anything from a can. It's choice. But inside of canned food, there's a plastic liner called BPA, which is bisphenol A. The water you drink, the chemicals you put inside of your body, and the foods you eat can have estrogen in it, and that estrogen can compromise function.
Now, Dr. Bob, if they wanted to look at their body and say, okay, I'm looking at myself, is there any way for them to look at themselves and see if they have high estrogen, or are they estrogen dominant?
Well, it's kind of interesting, Deb, because we're looking at the body, so we're reading the body. When I have somebody come in our office, I'm observing them.
Okay.
Now, there's some areas that I can't observe. I have to ask questions. But ladies, if you have little red bumps on your body, they look like little red moles, blood blisters. They're not blood blisters. They're really called, cherry hemangiomas. Those are a body signal to me that your liver is not capable of processing all the estrogen, so it shows up as little red lesions on your skin. I also will ask a female if she has varicose veins, spider veins, or hemorrhoids. You can say, Dr. Bob, why do you want to know that for? Because, see, the blood flows through your legs, up through your liver, on the way back to the heart. Well, if your liver is compromised or congested, the blood vessels in your legs and in your rectum become the release valve, and they start to bloat or get bigger. The liver, one of those body signals are that. So what I really need you to understand, ladies, is this. If you have tender breasts and heavy menstrual flow, you have too much estrogen. You may, in fact, go to your family doctor and to your specialist, and they may suggest that you have your uterus taken out. I'm not telling you to or not to, but you should always talk to Dr. Bob first, because, see, they don't say anything to you generally, from my experience. They don't ask you what you're eating or what are you doing that may, in fact, maybe compromising your body, because I'm not sure sometimes if they've been informed to know that a compromised liver from the food you're eating and the water you're drinking is compromising your liver, causing the estrogen to go up. So there's a procedure called ablation. Ablation is cauterizing the inside of a woman's uterus. I, once again, not telling you to or not to, but if you have the inside of your uterus cauterized, you may, in fact, create a scar in there that may not allow the blood to leave. But I've had patients come into my office that the blood started leaving the outside of the uterus in the pelvic cavity. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to explain to you, ladies, now to make the wise choice. You don't even want a heavy menstrual flow. You want to do everything you can. Now listen to my heart. You want to do everything that you can to prevent extra estrogen. A body signal for estrogen is tender breast, heavy menstrual flow. I said a 16-year-old girl that came into our office. She had both of those. She has compromised liver function, 16 years old. When you cauterize the inside of the uterus, you're not getting to the cause of the problem. Do you cry easy? You say, Dr. Bob, why do you want to know that if you're asking me about estrogen? Because people who cry easily usually have a need for B vitamins. If you don't have enough B vitamins, you can't process the estrogen properly. On other programs, I've talked about Dr. Bob's ABCs. A half a red apple every day, a third cup of beets, 4 or 5 baby carrots. Those will help the liver function optimally. This is a used prescription bottle. You know, my heart goes out to this. Do you know that I just read a very interesting article that was all over the news recently, that 15,000 Medicare patients die every month in hospitals because of mistakes. Hear what I just said? 15,000 Medicare patients die every month in hospitals because of mistakes. And one of the most common issues and mistakes happens to be the side effects or the bad effects, which would be more appropriate, to their blood thinning medication, causing blood sore or bed sores and infections. This is so serious today. I just want you to understand, if you don't take care of yourself and you end up in a hospital bed, your statistical chance of leaving is not necessarily in your favor all the time. So I want you to be aware that medications that you're taking also can compromise liver function. Hello, let's be really honest with each other. Last year alone, $13 billion worth of Lipitor was sold in America. $13 billion. Do you know what the first side effect or one of the side effects of statin drugs are? Liver disease. They suggest that you have a blood test. I'm encouraging you to have a blood test. But what I would like you to do is let's work on getting that cholesterol lowered naturally, right, Deb?
You're right. But Dr. Bob, you're sitting here with me right now as a natural health doctor and a chiropractor. What would you do for all these things so far that we've talked about to help somebody if they come into your office?
Debbie, that's an awesome question. So you're sitting there on the couch saying, you know, you're bumping your neighbor, say, I need to go see that guy. I just can't believe it. He's just talking about me. I have a heavy menstrual flow. So you'd come into our office. We would sit down and I would do a consultation. We'd go into great detail about spinal function, diet, etc. And then we would do a test to you. We would look at your posture. We'd go through ranges of motion. We would take your blood pressure. We'd take films of your spine. We would sit down. We'd have you come back, and we would create a plan to help normalize function. It takes anywhere, excuse me, it takes anywhere from 22 to 36 months to help turn a body around. It's just not going to happen overnight. We're not going to throw fairy dust on you. But over the time period, we're going to work with you. We're going to involve you. We're going to have blood tests. We're going to request. We're going to check your thyroid gland. Dr. Bob, what does the thyroid have to do with anything? Well, a friend of mine who wrote several books, Dr. David Fram, who's also a natural doctor, he has discovered that if you can determine the pattern of causing something and reverse the problem, you could reverse that condition. Well, he has found that one of the leading causes of breast cancer in a female happens to be a low thyroid gland. Well, what causes a low thyroid? Well, stress can cause a low thyroid, poor diet, and even chlorine from your shower. So this is a shower dechlorinator. So we would do an analysis of your lifestyle. We would have you journal your diet, see what you're eating, ask you questions about what are you drinking, are you swimming. We're looking for answers to questions of, for example, as I just mentioned, thyroid function. So we would send you out for some thyroid tests. We would, Deb, also have your vitamin D tested. If you have dark skin, whether you be black or Indian or Somalian or Jamaican, or wherever you're at in the world, if you have dark skin, what I have found statistically, you could be low in vitamin D. D as in David. Well, vitamin D has everything to do with osteoporosis. It has to do with a strong immune system. It has to do with if you're going to have MS or not, or high blood pressure, or diabetes. So we would do an assessment to that, or we do something called a CBC with a differential. That might not mean anything to you. It could be Greek to you. But those are tests that we consistently do. And I'm going to do something very interesting. I'm actually going to talk to you. Yeah, that's right. We're going to sit down and we're going to talk. And we're going to come up with a plan. We're going to make recommendations. You may, in fact, bring some of your supplements into the office. And those supplements may, in fact, be a part of the challenge that you're doing right now. We'd talk, and we would create a plan to make a difference, Deb.
Wow. Well, I guess you answered that. Now, you're telling me all of that if I come into the office. What can I start to do for myself right now, today, to make a difference in my life?
Well, I think one of the very first things that all of you watching us, no matter wherever you're at in the world, is you could start drinking water from a pure source. You're going to avoid conventional food. You're going to want to work on organic food. You're going to really want to eliminate as much sugar that you possibly can, because sugar compromises liver function. I would eliminate soda. Soda is really, really a real challenge to your liver. There's so much to talk about. You know what? We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back. Hello, this is Dr. Bob and Debbie DeMaria. Welcome once again to our Half Hour of Health program. And this evening, we've been talking about female health, but really, female hormones also impact male hormones too. And there's so many little nuggets, that'll make a huge difference inside of your life. Copper. You say, Dr. Bob, what does copper have to do with anything? What I have found from my experience, individuals who have a hard time falling asleep at night may have too much copper in their body. Very common in redheads and individuals with freckles, because that's a body signal to me of elevated copper. So you're literally laying in bed, your body is physically exhausted, and your brain is going a gazillion miles an hour. What causes high copper? High copper is caused because of wheat and soy. Wheat and soy deplete the body of zinc. When you have high zinc, you have low copper. Another area that I've seen is individuals who have high copper, Debbie, have thick, pasty bile. They almost always have high estrogen. High copper, once again, goes along with sleep issues. You know, Deb, we really are interested in food. And I know what I'm holding in my hand, most people would think is really good for you. And I'm not saying it's not good for you. One of my favorite foods when I was a kid was applesauce. Now today I prefer to eat the apple because I want the fiber and all the nutrients and the minerals. I need you to become label savvy. Because if your applesauce has apples in it, That's good. But I want you to look to see if it's sweetened with HFCS. What's that? It's high fructose corn syrup. I read articles, they've called it devil's candy. Dr. Bob, that's pretty powerful. Well, it is powerful. This is Christian TV, you know. High fructose corn syrup. High fructose corn syrup stops a hormone in your body from functioning optimally called leptin. L-E-P-T-I-N. Who cares about that? Well, leptin tells your body you're full. If you consume at the end of your meal or during your meal applesauce with high fructose corn syrup, you're tricking your brain. Your brain's confused. Your brain's saying, hey, you're eating food, but I'm getting the signal that there's no leptin there, so I don't know if you're full, so you're going to still stay hungry. So you may go to a very common fast food restaurant, order a shake and or a Frosty that's been sweetened with high fructose corn syrup, get finished devouring your burger with extra mayo and fries, slurping down whatever it is that's inside of that cup, and still be hungry. You know, Deb, don't you hear the advertisement? Aren't you hungry? Well, most people watch right now because I just said that. It's like, you know, I'm going to go get something to eat.
Well, it's easy to start our saliva going, right? All you have to do is talk about
it. It is. So high fructose corn syrup, if you're going to make applesauce, you make it yourself. Now, this is a miniature ion breeze. I bring this up because the ion breeze purifies your air. You want pure as much as you can. But I was reading an article about candles. I know people like to give candles for holiday gifts, graduation gifts, any kind of activity, could be an anniversary. When I read the article that came with this, it really was the information that was in this, it said, never burn a candle in a closed room with ionic breeze because the wax from the candle will coat the plates and it'll make the ionic breeze ineffective. You think, so Dr. Bob, who cares? Well, your lungs care because your lungs are literally the metal plates in your ionic breeze. See, Dr. Bob, what are you saying to me? I wouldn't burn candles in my house. If you're going to burn candles in a house, maybe get one that's made with beeswax. But I know people have candles all over the place. Do you ever see that little soot? Well, that soot is not healthy soot. Pretty frightening, isn't it?
It is toxin.
I know.
It's a toxin.
When you go someplace and you
It smells good, though, Dr. Bob.
It smells
really
good.
good.
You know, it's kind of interesting, just as a side note. If you have sensitivity to fragrances, now listen to this, you'll love it. I'd never mentioned this on the air before. There's something called molybdenum. Spell that. Molybdenum is a trace nutrient that's actually, one of the areas you can get it from is ground pepper. So we have a pepper grinder with little peppercorns in it. You know the old trade route from the Indian trade route with Marco Polo, long time ago, before printed press was invented? Well, peppercorns are a great source. Spices are a great source of trace minerals, one of them being molybdenum. So if you have a problem with MSG, perfumes, gasoline, fragrances, molds, you may have a molybdenum deficiency. On our website, which is druglessdoctor.com, we actually have a product of trace minerals that you could use to take away that craving. And also, Deb, we encourage our patients to use Celtic sea salt. Celtic sea salt really is a great mineral. It's an unrefined salt. I know that you and I use this liberally on our food. And how salt works is it draws the fluid, the essence of the food, from the cell membranes out so it can tap dance on your tongue. I just love the taste of Celtic sea salt. Deb, stress. You know, you and I are reading our morning devotional. Debbie and I read a devotional together every morning. And recently, one of the little tips that we read is 80% of hospitalizations is due to stress. Are you stressed right now? I know that a good percentage of you are. I know that Debbie and I, in our own personal word time, is just give it to the Lord. Stop trying to build your own kingdom. Just forget about your own kingdom and work on building God's kingdom. It's the fulfillment of God. You want the fullness of God inside of you. That'll eliminate a lot of your stress, right, Deb?
It sure will. I think the Word of God eliminates a lot of my stress.
Well, I know, and it's just, you might look at us and say, Dr. Bob and Debbie, you're so lucky. Well, you know, we're blessed and we're working the Word. When I say we're working the Word, Deuteronomy 8:18, we are working to help increase God's kingdom. And a part of our duty, a part what we feel the Lord has impressed us to do is to help your health. And so all of this has been designed to help you function optimally. Now, before we close, I just have to share this one nugget with you. It's in chapter 10 of my book on female hormones, which I'll share with you in a moment. I know one of you ladies right now, 1 month you have a headache, and the next month you don't have a headache, depending on how your menstrual cycle is flowing. What I have found over time is that this area right here, this is a plastic spine, by the way, and the vertebra in the spine, which are represented here, can go out of alignment. We call that a subluxation. When those vertebrae go out of alignment and they put pressure on sensitive nerves, whatever organ or gland that goes to is not going to function optimally. Well, there's nestled in a lady's pelvis two little tissues called the ovaries. Ovaries make hormones. Ovaries are important for eggs, important for getting pregnant. Now, let's just say that you have subluxation, and the 1 month that ovary is supposed to kick in, maybe the nerve going to the ovary is not functioning optimally, so that month that ovary doesn't work for whatever reason. It's not up to par. So you have a headache that month, and the next month you don't have a headache, and then the next month you do have a headache. You say, well, Dr. Bob, what are you saying to me? It is very logically possible that you could have misalignment to your spinal vertebra that are affecting the nerves going to that ovary that's not working on a particular month. You can say, okay, so then why do I have no headaches the month after that? Because the nerves from the spine going to that ovary are working. So what we do in our practice is we'll do an exam, an x-ray, we'll do an assessment to look for the misalignment, correct the misalignment, correct the subluxation, so your ovaries get the information that they need to function at 100%. And so many times we have so many ladies that come into the office that their pelvis is out of alignment. And they have pelvis pain, they have uterus pain, they have menstrual cramping. And by doing a very professional, logical posture assessment, including films, x-rays of your spine, we can make the determination of where your alignment is off, correct the alignment, improve your diet and function, and what's going to happen to you is your body is going to start to get well. And it's all about what you put in and on your body.
I think, Dr. Bob, one of the things that we want to make sure people understand is we have the drugless approach. We don't put anything into our body as far as over-the-counter drugs. We don't put drugs, but we do this naturally. We do it through chiropractic care, nutritional support, and the right food that you eat. Amazingly, you can change your life, your whole life, because you'll have more energy, you'll be more vibrant, you can think better, you can focus, your hands will move, believe it or not, your feet won't hurt when you get up in the morning, your whole body will be entertained by better, healthier cells.
That's so awesome, Debbie. You know, when you really think about it, there's just so much. You know, a few little nuggets before we sign off. Hot flashes. Do you suffer with hot flashes? Oftentimes, it's a need for iodine, and we do thyroid testing in our office with different lab testing, TSH, T3, T4. We'll do vitamin D testing also. Are you concerned about osteoporosis? I know so many of you are. Well, we help determining through the vitamin D and other testing. We do hair analysis. But something that we do in our office that is so interesting is that we could actually do saliva testing. You've probably been wondering where you can have that done. We can determine your progesterone level, your testosterone level, and your estrogen levels inside of your body by doing an assessment to your saliva. We can do urine iodine loading testing. We can determine the amount of iodine that's in your urine, which helps me determine what's going on with your thyroid. Also, it's so critically important that we can do urine estrogen testing. Whether you're in my office right now watching in our reception area, or you're watching me online, or you're watching me in northern Ohio, we can actually do a test to determine the amount of estrogen that's in your urine and come up with a strategy. If you have too much 16-hydroxyestrone, or you have the good estrone or the estrogen called the 2-hydroxy, we can help you create a plan. Ladies, there is information out there. This is Dr. Bob's Drugless Guide to Balancing Female Hormones. This is a tremendous book. I know it'll make a difference in your office. You can order it online, you can go to Amazon, you can come into our office, but better yet, I'm in Elyria, Ohio. People come from all over the world to Elyria, Ohio. I'm going to give you an invitation to come and read the book, get an assessment. We're here to make a difference. We normally charge $165 to $200 for an exam and x-ray at our office. I'm saying to you right now, we'll do it for only $25. Why am I doing it for that? Because I've been married for nearly 35 years. I know that you have a mate and you have loved ones out there that are concerned about what's going on inside of your body. We're talking about generational blessings right now. Let's stop the generational curses. Let's make a difference in your life. You don't have to have your breast taken off. You don't have to have a hysterectomy. Let's work together with your healthcare provider. Make a call today. I promise you, you'll be glad you did.